Hi, I'm Jon Ginoli from Pansy Division,
And I'm Chris Freeman, also from Pansy Division.
and we're here to talk about Pansy Division's fourth album, Wish I'd Taken Pictures, which came out 30 years ago in 1996. It came out kind of at the peak of our band in the 90s after we had toured with Green Day and the Lookout Records thing was still really big. And we had a lot of hopes for this record. And so we spent, at the time, a whopping $3,000 to record it. And it turned out really well. Better than I thought before I sat down and listened to it last night, to listen to the whole thing in one sitting again. But it's an album I'm really proud of.
We had time to work these songs into our live set or to at least play them for an audience. And that really made the difference, I think. We had a drummer that was playing with us consistently at that point. So we had a chance to really work out all the kinks in the songs and make sure we knew exactly what we wanted to do. And it made the recording process a lot faster.
This is also the first time we had recorded an album with a person who we'd been playing the songs with before we got to the studio. And I think that helped a lot. We had a really good drummer on this album. He was a really great drummer, and he was a really lousy personality. And we're not going to mention his name. We're just going to call him the drummer. If you want to read more about that, it's in my book, Deflowered, in which I tell the story. But listening to this album, great drumming. It's what we needed. One reason you stick with people in a band who maybe you don't get along with is if the music sounds really good. And it was sounding really good. It sounded really good until we couldn't take anymore and had to let him go. But then we found Luis Iades, who played on the album after this, and he's been our drummer ever since. 30 years now. So we made the right move.
Yes, we did. We had what we thought was our dream drummer at the end of the Green Day tour, which was Danny Panic from Screeching Weasel. He really fit the music that we had at the time. It was like, oh, the jigsaw pieces fit with him, but he wasn't going to join our band. When we got the next drummer, we did what we could do to match our material for the drummer, which is exactly what we did with Luis. But Luis was such a different drummer than those two that the material really did move and evolve towards that. So we were trying to write for the drummer we had in our hand. And that reduces, I think, a lot of those songs to just being like, yeah, that was that drummer.
That sound like, because that's what he sounded like.
Right. And I think this was also the first time where we let somebody else mix. Before that was always the two of us and whoever was engineering. We recorded at Razor's Edge, which was owned by Fat Mike from NoFX.
NoFX, the Melvins had recorded there. It was like a kind of up and coming studio in San Francisco. So we thought, okay, this record's going to be a step up for us. And it was.
The guy that mixed it was also an acquaintance of the drummer, but we didn't know anything about him. He was in a world music band. The drummer thought maybe that would widen our scope of sound.
And also, the band had gotten better live, so we wanted to capture that. But we also were starting to do things that were a little different from the punk scene that we were a part of, partly because the drummer was more experimental, but also because we thought we'd kind of reached a certain point where it's like, we need to start doing other things, add some other touches. So I think there's what you would expect from Pansy Division on this album and some things you definitely wouldn't expect, and I think they both are worthy. This was the first album we had released in Canada on Mint Records, and it came out in Europe on Deconquerant, who are also our tour managers when we toured Europe that year after this album came out. So why don't we just start with track number one?
Track number one is Horny in the Morning.
The first thing you hear in the album was supposed to be an alarm, but it sounds more like a bell. And when we reissue this album, it's going to get replaced because it just never sounded right. We did it in a hurry, and it's like, oh shit, that really isn't exactly what we wanted. But okay.
I think it was an old phone.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have an alarm.
Listening to it again, I just love it. But like a lot of songs on this album, it was played too fast. At the time, we really wanted to show off our shit hot rockin' drummer, and we played a bunch of songs on this album too fast. When you go back and listen later, you're like, yeah, you didn't really have to push it that hard. The song was good. We didn't need to force it to be faster than it really felt like it should be.
And in our defense, it is easy to go back and think, oh, that song's too fast. But at the time, we were competing with other bands on our own label, like Mr. T Experience. And now
Mm-hmm.
looking back, it's like, well, that's kind of what dates it in a way, is that we played it too fast.
For some of these songs,
Yeah,
but it's a great lead-off song
it
for
is.
the album. So that was first, and then track two is Vanilla. And Vanilla was the song that I wrote kind of as a sequel to James Bondage, because I am not into S&M and I am rather timid as so far as pain goes. So I thought I just should own that, and so I wrote Vanilla, and I think it comes off pretty well. Autobiographical.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of genius when you brought it out. It's one of my favorites, especially from this time period. I
Nice
just
job.
remembered now, we were playing this song on the Green Day tour. I remember watching a video of us in Detroit with Danny Panic,
Uh-huh.
and Mike had the camera fisheye lens on the side of the stage. And right as we do that break, I'm vanilla, I'm vanilla, I'm vanilla, dun 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 dun, right in that break, a quarter hit one of Danny's cymbals. So it went da 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 ting da. We went right back to the rest of the song.
We had a mixed reaction on that Green Day tour, and Detroit, they threw quarters at us. It was the worst reception we had, but we picked up $40 in quarters off
Yeah.
the front of that stage and the back of that stage. So, we had to laugh.
Tips.
So track
Uh,
three is Really Wanted You, which is a song that I've recorded a lot. The band that I had before Pansy Division, The Outnumbered, recorded it on their second album. And we recorded it as a 45 B-side that didn't sound nearly as good as it should have. So we ended up bringing it back and recording it properly, a little fast, but I think it turned out really well. The song's about a real person. At some point, I told him about the song. It's a
True.
song about having a straight guy, like a friend that you think is really cute, who just comes along, gets swept away by a woman, and you just feel kind of helpless about it. We made a video because it was that moment in 96, that one moment where MTV seemed to be thinking that, maybe we should play some of these indie bands that are going to be the next Green Day or whatever. We spent $3,000 on our album. We spent $5,000 on a video. What a ridiculous waste of money. Video's okay.
The video is actually pretty tender. I thought it was actually a pretty good video, but there was a little bit of that going on between myself and the drummer, whose girlfriend at the time was the director, Anjali
And
Sundaram.
did a great
And
job,
she
but
did a great job. Yeah. I did my own cut of it, which is also on YouTube. You can watch my original cut right now, as well as this video. It was so ridiculous. We had screenings of both videos for an audience. We actually sat in a room and played both videos, and people got to choose which one they liked. And it was definitely my cut, but I went back and made some changes to accommodate. But the drummer wanted it to be more abstract. And we were fighting the fact that, well, we just shot a story. There's actually a whole story. And we shot it, by the way, in January in Oakland, and it was freezing. We had a room with the heater on, and everyone was going back in the pink towels going,
it did get shown on MTV once on 120 Minutes. But it did not go over well live. We thought this is a single from our album. It just didn't get the reaction, even though we thought it was a great song. The next song is, I think, a Pansy Division classic. Chris wrote it, he sang it, he experienced it.
It's a composite, actually, a few different people, but one person in particular where I was like, wow, that was a challenge. I'm going to have to write about that. So,
This
yeah,
song's been
Dick and
played at
Beth.
every Pansy Division show since we learned it. It's just been a mainstay.
It's kind of outrageous and it's pretty funny because it's about meeting somebody who's got the Mount Everest of cock, if you will, the biggest member possible. And what do? You
You
relax
climb
into it.
that mountain. You might
Um,
have to go for oxygen
right.
at the top of Mount Everest or the
It's
bottom.
it's definitely influenced by Cheap Trick. So there's a lot of Cheap Trick in that song. It was definitely a lot of fun to write it. I remember laughing a lot before I was able to share it with you. But like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to be singing these lyrics. Oh no. Oh, and I also remember that when I first brought it to you, you went, sorry, you can't use that name. And I said,
Yeah.
well, I think we can get away with it, but it was in the time of AIDS, right in the middle of the 90s. And Dick of Death was sort of like, are we sure we want to not, what are we really saying? I don't think anybody has ever come up to us wondering what we were talking about.
I was concerned because I didn't want to be defined by the disease. I thought that it was something that people could take that way just from the title. Song itself obviously doesn't. I was sensitive to that, but I ended up being convinced that it would work. And it did. Track 5 was Expiration Date, which was very experimental in the way it was recorded. It was done with a filter on my vocal, and it had some kind of noisy, artsy touches. The drummer had a hand in this, and I thought he had some really good ideas. So we used them on this song, and I think it stands out. What's interesting for me is that it has this sort of arty sound, but I think the lyric, which is about having a box full of condoms that are about to expire because you're not getting laid, is, I thought, a really relatable lyric. Put it on and you don't think, oh, that sounds like Pansy Division. But I think it's a good song, and I think the treatment of it's really good. So that was one step that was definitely not in the Lookout Records sound files. Like, this sounded like something else. And I was happy about that.
It really is the outlier of this album, but
Mm.
it sort of pushes the sound. And it's like you said, we all played something different than on any other song that we've done at that point. We did re-record that song later with Luis and did a much longer, much heavier version of it.
So track 6 is The Summer You Let Your Hair Grow Out, which, along with Dick of Death, I think is the other classic Pansy Division song on this record.
I think it's my favorite on this record, honestly. I just think it sounds so good. Every time I put it on, it makes me
Yeah,
feel happy.
I think of it as kind of a gay Everly Brothers song. Unlike a lot of songs that I've written, I remember writing this one very vividly because I was eating lunch at my kitchen table and I was listening to, I think it was Graham Parsons. And suddenly the title came to me and I thought, oh my God. And I just paused the music and I just wrote down most of the lyrics in about 15 minutes. And then I went back and played around with it on the guitar and it just almost wrote itself without any difficulty. And it was just one of those magic moments. Later on, when we played it live, once Patrick joined our band and then Joel after him, it gained another verse for a guitar solo. And I think that really would have made the song better, but that's not what's on this version. But I do love this version.
Yeah, it just sounds so good. I think it's probably the best mix on the record for me.
Haven't played it constantly, but it always gets brought back because it's just a good one.
Yeah, we just love playing it.
So the
Okay.
title song is next, Wish I'd Taken Pictures.
Whee!
When we title an album, if there isn't like anything obvious that we're going for, I try to take a line or a title from a song. I thought the concept for Wish I'd Taken Pictures turned out really well. It's a great album cover. It's really colorful. Our friend Mark Geller, who photographed a bunch of our album covers, did a great job. It might be my favorite album cover. Two guys on the cover that I thought were really cute. They're kind of naked on the back cover, which was pushing our label a little bit, but they didn't say anything. It's from that era before smartphones. Now it's just so easy. Then you had to get out the camera, and that could ruin the moment. So this is a little bit of its time in terms of the issue behind the song. I just wrote the lyrics, then I was playing around on the guitar, and I'm like, what if I just played it this way? It's got a chord that I don't even know the name of. Goofing around, found the magic chord.
There's no actual guitar solo, but I did a bass run that acts as a solo. I did an extra bass part that I put a bunch of distortion on, and it sort of leads to the break in the song, which I like a lot too.
Yeah.
It's nice to break the song down like that. I like that.
Number 8, first song on side 2. Well, if you bought the vinyl record before Pillow Talk started, there's an announcement we stole off of a Monty Python record saying, if you want to play the record from the beginning, please turn over. This is not side 1, this is side 2. It's brief. But Pillow Talk, it's a really good song. It's a rocker. It has some good lyrics about an open relationship. It's funny, but it's too fast. And it didn't go over well live because it was really hard to sing those lyrics and get them over live. So the song kind of faded away rather quickly. It didn't get played much live. And, we only have room for so many songs. The ones that go over, the ones that get the best reaction, we tend to stick with those. And Pillow Talk did not have that.
Yeah, it definitely suffered from being too fast, but it had that little guitar chicka chicka dun dun chicka chicka dun, which I liked a lot too. And the drummer did this little along with it. I thought it was very clever, but yeah, it was again too fast, and it was hard to get those lyrics out. Yep.
And the same thing is true of the next song, This Is Your Life, which is a song I wrote for Chris to sing.
And because of that, I wasn't able to really make it my own. I think that's the song I'm least impressed with on the record. That's the one that missed it the most. And it's just because we didn't consider that maybe if we slowed this down, it might be better. We just went with it as it was.
A minute and 41 seconds, and it probably
Yeah.
should have been about a minute longer because the songwriting's really good. It's
Yeah.
really well observed song about somebody who is on the verge of moving in with somebody, but that other person holds all the cards financially. You're moving into their place. And I thought that was worth writing about. Singing.
Honestly, it was your warning song to me.
Yeah.
And you were right, because I didn't end up with that person after all. Funny, because on the artwork is a picture of that person and me in front of his house.
Yeah, you're
So he understood it too. And it was just from me talking to you about the situation over and over in the van. You're like, I'm writing you a song, damn it. I hope you get the meaning.
because the song's called This Is Your Life, but the way it's sung is this is your life, not mine.
Not mine. Yep. Not ours, most importantly. The next one is one I love a lot. It's one of my favorites. And I think it's because we did do it at the tempo it should be done.
Yes. And because it was a slower song, it did not take to being played live very much. There's a lot of really good writing on this album about relationships. There's some songs we've covered already that are about sex that I think are also good, but especially on the second half of the album, there's more relationship-oriented stuff. First side is very fast, pretty much all the way through. Expiration date's not fast, but it has this other weird element to it that propels it. But don't be so sure, it's kind of a ballad. It's not played that slowly, but that's kind of the approach. It's about someone who doesn't want to be taken for granted. And I knew somebody that really fit the lyric to this song well. In some ways, it fit me. A lot of our songs are humorous or clever. This was not. This was just straightforward and heartfelt.
I kind of felt like this getting close to Tom Petty. This is definitely in the Tom Petty realm. I could hear him covering the song.
If someone tells me that sounds like a Tom Petty song, I'm taking that as a compliment.
Absolutely, yes. One of my favorites.
And this is kind of a prelude to where we were going. The album after this, More Lovin' From Our Oven, put together some singles that had been out. But then the next full album we made was Absurd Pop Song Romance, where there were a lot more songs like this.
Definitely. This pointed the way for like maybe 3 other songs on that record. Yeah, I think. Or made those possible, if we want to put it that way.
We believe Absurd Pop Song Romance is our best album, so we'll be getting to that
eventually. This was our best at the time.
I think so. I think Deflowered's really good, but this has a band sound that is sometimes on Deflowered, but not as often.
Right.
Next song's called Kevin. And Kevin was somebody I knew, obviously not named Kevin, who was very cagey about his sexuality. And he had really good friends who were like, we don't care if you're straight or gay or bi or whatever. But he never really dated anybody. And he was kind of a loner and a good looking guy. And we thought, we don't know what's up. So this was my attempt to kind of grapple with the Kevin situation. He was really unbothered by the fact that he was kind of a puzzle to people. He eventually did end up being straight. But I think it was interesting how he let the ambiguity linger when he could have, when a lot of straight guys especially would have squashed that. And he didn't. The only problem with Kevin is it's played like 2 gears too fast. You could never understand the words played at that speed, even on the record, unless you're sitting down with a lyric sheet. So we kind of shot ourselves in the foot a few times on this album by taking great material and thinking that it really needed to be rocked out. If you've got a rocker, rock it. If you don't have one, you don't have to do that. But we were insecure about our standing, I think, among our peers, and we wanted to rock, and we had the drummer who could rock, finally. But that was a bad approach for this song, I think. The next song is a song that doesn't even have any drums. It's called The Ache. And again, this was really a sensitive relationship song about someone who had a relationship that he believed in but just wasn't working. It just wasn't going to last. And you could feel that ache that it was going to end. It's got a guitar.
There's cello, and the drummer actually did a little low vocal along with the cello, way down low. And I think there's a little tambourine too, yeah. And I know that we really pushed for you to sing it pinched. So you didn't really give it your full voice. We were trying to get you to sing it like you were heartbroken, like you were curled up in bed because it was so painful. But may not have been the best performance, but I still like it. I think it's different enough from you. It's not your normal style for sure.
No, I do like it, but truth be told, I always skip it because it's between 2 really fast songs. And so there's really no on-ramp to it. It's kind of like rock, 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 slow, rock, rock, rock. So maybe it could have been put in a different place. Maybe it would have been after Don't Be So Sure. It's an experiment, and I think it was semi-successful.
I think you're right. Moving that after Don't Be So Sure and then put Kevin and then the last one, maybe that would help.
Maybe we'll do it on the reissue.
Well, it's easy enough to do. It's different than anything you've done in our recording to that time. You'd not sung anything like that in that way. But I can see how you might be a little more self-conscious about it or wanted to give it more. But I think it works from that feeling of being pinched and confined. And
I think the only other song we really did like this was Glenview. But Glenview I sang full voice.
Yes, correct.
On Absurd Pop Song Romance. So from this tender song, The Ache, our next song was Pea Shy. Who else is going to write about this but Pansy Division?
It was raunchy. I remember when you played this for me, I was like, okay. I don't think there's ever been a song, or I don't think there's ever, before or after, I don't think there's anything like this song.
We could be wrong. All you have to do is go on Spotify and look up Pea Shy and see how many other songs there are. This is a great rocker with an interesting drum pattern. And
that's right. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun,
played this live for a while. I think the reason we stopped playing this is when we changed drummers. But
yes.
We played it the whole time the previous drummer was in the band, but not when Luis joined. We left it behind because we had all these great new songs. It's still on the record, and I'm still proud of it.
The last one on here is still one of my favorites.
The last song, Sidewalk Sale. Sidewalk Sale being everybody hanging around on the sidewalk outside the gay bar as it's closing and they're kicking people out, and you still want to pick someone up and go home. That may not be as relevant in the age of apps, but it still does happen. This song has 5 verses and 2 choruses in 1 minute and 15 seconds. It's really fast, but honestly, it's not too fast. It's a pull the pin and rip kind of song. It's pretty funny, and it's true for so many people. They can say, oh, God, I've been there. And that's really what we tried to capture. And being a gay band, writing about gay themes, it's like, what can people relate to? What stories do we have that other people could relate to that we could sing about?
I agree. It just cracks me up. I don't think this one was too fast either. I think this one was one we got right.
Yeah.
I think the tempo is just enough to get the lyrics out and just enough to get the puns across. And it's a great way to end the album because it's the end of the night.
I think we actually thought about that. Now that we're talking about it, I think that did come to mind.
Well, in summation of this record, I think it's a quality record from a band that's at its peak playing live. This one really feels like a live band. I think that was what we were trying to accomplish at the time. But it was the last time we tried to sound like a lookout band also. After this, we pulled away from even trying. We made the conscious decision. We really can't be like everybody now. That's not going to
And
be our future, or we're never going to last.
I don't know how much I really wanted to sound like a lookout band, but I wanted to be able to compete with them at the same time because they were our peers. And a lot of people listened to a lot of bands on the label. There were a lot of Lookout Records fans. So if
Yeah.
you were a fan of this band, you might end up listening to this other band. A lot of the stuff that came out on Lookout, to me, is more generic punk than we are. And I didn't want to be generic, but I did want to be more punk. And
Yeah.
that's what a good drummer helped us be.
Yep.
Pop band, but one that really rocked. That was our goal, and so we did it.
Yep. We did it. I think it set the stage for a lot of things, especially our artwork. And this is indeed one of my favorites. We actually went back and used the same models, the same room. The room was still painted the same color, the same pajamas on Quite Contrary. So that's how much we love this cover.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed this detailed dive into a Pansy Division album, and there are more to be viewed on YouTube and more to come. So thanks for being here with us.
And look out for the release coming soon.
Yeah.